Paul, we're standing in front of a time and attendance terminal now, but it's not the traditional sort of show a card or put a card into a mechanical device. This is rather different, so tell me about it.
Okay, this clock uses a biometric fingerprint to identify who it is that's clocking in. So the person would come along, press a button to clock in, present their finger, and it would accept them and it would know exactly who they were. So this uses the fingerprint. The benefits of this, of course, are that the person doesn't have to carry any media with them, a card or any fobs or anything like that. And also it stops something in the business which is called buddy punching. And buddy punching is that you say to me today that you're not going to come in and could I clock you in? And if you're using a traditional card system, then I could come along and clock you in. But of course, if we're using biometrics, I can't use your finger. You have to be here to clock in. So that's the reason that this technology has started to be used, particularly in time and attendance.
And does it actually store my fingerprint in there?
No, it doesn't. What it does is it, during the enrolment process, it does take a picture of the finger initially, but then it converts that into a code, and that code is stored in the terminal, not the fingerprint. And it's absolutely impossible for anybody to take that code and remake a fingerprint from it.
So tell me about the enrolment method and how easy that is.
Okay. So enrolment is very simple. We tend to enroll two fingers, one of the left hand and one of the right. And there's two ways of enrolment. One is to enrol directly on the terminal, and this tends to happen when you have small numbers of terminals. So you enrol on the terminal and then use that terminal. The other method is when you have a big system where you actually enrol into a piece of software, let's say at a central base, and that template then is distributed out to a number of terminals. So what I'd like to show you now is how we enrol somebody on just the single terminal.
Yes, please.
Okay. So first of all, we come to the terminal and we put a specific code in, which in this case is C49. It immediately asks us for a password. We enter the password, press enter, and that takes us into this menu screen. So from the menu screen you can see there's an enrol, unenroll, list, identify and arrays. So obviously we want to enrol somebody. In fact, in this case it's going to be myself. So we press the enrol button and immediately we're asked for an ID. So this would be the ID that is put into the central software as an identifier that this is Paul Adams. So I now put in the ID, which in this case is just 1. I press OK, and now the terminal will go into the enrol mode. I present my finger 3 times, and the most important thing here is that my finger is put on firmly and completely flat. And every time I do this, you can see that there's a score, and that quality score has to be around the 100 mark. So I now use my second finger. And that's it. That's the enrolment done. The terminal tells me that the template quality is good, so I'm happy with that. Now, the best thing to do now is also just to make sure that this terminal will identify that it's me. So I present my finger and it should tell me that it's 00001, which it does. I know that that enrolment is okay, so I can say okay. If I have to enrol some more people now, I can now bring the second person along and we can enrol them again. So in this case, I don't need to do that. I put the terminal back into normal use and now we can carry on clocking in and clocking out. So now I present my badge and the terminal should see that it's Paul Adams. That's how you do the simple enrolment.
Right, very simple. So what happens in a situation where somebody can't enrol, perhaps because their finger's too big or it's scarred in some way and it won't read a fingerprint?
Okay. Yeah, we have overcome that by allowing those types of people, those people whose fingers don't work, to use a PIN code into the terminal, but only those people. And I can demonstrate that to you now. I happen to know that John Hardman, whose number is stored in the clock, his finger won't work. So we've stored him in the clock and we've given him the number of 02. So John will come along, he will press the green button to clock in, he will put his code in, 02, press enter, and it will recognise 02 as John Hardman. However, you saw me enrol a few minutes ago. If I come with my number, which we know was 4 zeros, 5 zeros and a 1, press enter, I'm not authorised to carry out that function. Right, so you can focus it down to those people whose fingers don't work.
Right, all right. So you, in that case, you have to use your finger. You can't.
I absolutely have to use my finger,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd already clocked in though. So
right, so that's okay. Okay, now, so you've explained how enrolment works at the terminal, but I believe now we're going to look at central enrolment, where you're enrolling perhaps lots and lots of people in a big organisation.
Yes.
At a PC or some other computer-based device.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Paul, we're on our way to the central reader to enrol your fingers, but before we get there, we're at an access control reader. So just to prove it, you're not already enrolled.
Okay.
Let's see if you can get in.
Okay, so I would present my finger, and the reader is rejecting me. It's not letting me through the door.
Okay, so the red light flashing and the noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll go to the central station. I'll enrol my finger. We'll download it to the terminal, and then we'll come back and see if it works.
So Paul, here we are in front of a typical computer terminal, which I guess you might find in the Human Resources Office, something like that, where you can enrol people centrally.
Yes, this is where, absolutely, that's where it would be done. So the first thing we need to do is bring up our enrolment screen and add our ID number that we're going to use for this person. Then we will go into the capture part of this. So we will now enrol each finger, the left hand and the right hand 3 times. So as I put the finger on here, it will appear on the screen in front of us and it will give me a score. So there's a very nice fingerprint. That's the second finger and the third finger. And this is the most important part of the whole process of getting a really good fingerprint to start with. So then we go for the second finger.
So this is a finger off the other hand, typically.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And does it matter which finger it is? I mean, would it typically be a forefinger, presumably?
Yeah, it can be any of your fingers, but it tends to be, it can even be the thumb as well. It depends which gives us the best image. So we've now got those 2 templates. We now save those. The template's now been accepted, and I just have to enter the name. And now I can choose to group the biometric profile, so I can actually, instead of sending it to all the terminals, I can actually choose to send it to just 1 or 2 terminals within the building.
So if you only want that person to have access to a particular area or something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
In this case, I'll do all, because that's what I will do. Save that, and I'll then distribute that template down to the terminals. And that will now go through the company's network and go down to a terminal.
Is that pretty instantaneous?
Yes, it usually takes only 10 to 15 seconds, and then somebody can go and clock on at any of the terminals.
Right. So we're back at the terminal, Paul. We've centrally enrolled your fingers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's see if it works.
Okay. Okay, so now I have access and I can get through into the building, or I can go to any of the clocks and clock in.